and welcome to a brand new episode of the Blooming Valley Garden Club podcast. I'm your host, Justine, and we got here our wonderful host, Bethany.
So happy to be here.
And we also have the number one guest. We got Hugo here. How you doing, Hugo?
Hi guys, I'm doing good, thanks, and you?
We're all doing very well. And listeners, thank you so much for joining us. We got a fantastic episode for you here. Kicking things off, I want to say I have been officially surpassed in height by my cucumber. I have been told in the Zoomer lingo that I am being mogged by my cucumber plant. Mogging, I am told, is when somebody is more handsome, more taller than you, and overall, just a better specimen. And I have to say, in between me and my cucumber plant, that is true. I am being mogged by my cucumber plant.
I can't. Sorry. What do I say to that?
Is anyone else here being mogged by a plant? Bethany, how's your mogging status in your garden?
I've been totally mocked this year by pumpkins that are just, sprawling across the garden and finding their way into the blueberry patch. And, we're not even halfway through the gardening season. So how much further can we go? Like, are we going to go out to the road? Are we going to go out to the next field over? Like, what's the deal here? It's amazing. Big pumpkins this year.
Is it like the Sharks versus the Jets situation? Are you having like some rivalry going on between the pumpkins and blueberries?
I don't think so. I think that they can cohabitate pretty well. So far, so good. Yeah, they're not in competition directly. It's just that those pumpkins are sprawling out. It's really giving Cinderella. Yeah.
And how about you, Hugo? How's your gardening season going?
Well, it's a bad thing, but I don't like my garden this year. Yeah.
What's going on in the garden, Hugo? Why are you having a bad season?
Well, it's mostly because the spring was a bit, sorry for the word, but a bit shitty. And it's there were a lot of water and we started late. So it's this and the weeds again. So yeah. But actually, I do love my cosmos. They're huge and bushy. So yeah.
Tell me about your cosmos. How are your cosmos doing?
Actually, pretty good. It's the only thing, like right now that I'm thinking about. But yeah, they're just growing well. And yeah.
Can I ask a question about the cosmos, Hugo? Do you pinch out the first bud?
Yeah. Even now, since they're kind of big, I'm always trying to take off the dead flowers or just, when I'm doing the bouquet, just to... so the flowers gonna regrow and yeah.
So it's a question of you want to keep picking and picking so that the plant is motivated to keep putting out more beautiful flowers. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. So the more we cut and the more it's gonna produce. So it's the same as the zinnias. Like come and cut again. You see what I'm talking about?
Right. Cut and come again.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so that goes for zinnias and it goes for cosmos and anything else?
Sunflowers too. Yeah, there's a variety. Yeah. I think it's Peach Pro Cut. It's like multi-branching. So the more we cut and the more it's gonna produce stems. So yeah, similar. Yeah.
Okay, so don't be afraid to cut those flowers and enjoy them inside because more are going to come from those specific types of flowers.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
That's good to know because I've also been growing zinnias this year. So is there a specific part on the stem that I'm supposed to cut?
When there's, I don't know how to say this, section, I'm going to do a schema here. You guys can't see it, but those two can. It's like there's the branches, like the single branch, and after that more like other branches. And there's two, and you cut over there, and it's just gonna grow more. And yeah. Is it answering the question? Yeah. Great.
So it's like you're cutting between the Y formation. So you've got a stem that's going straight up and then the stems that branch off in a Y shape. And you want to cut that middle stem so that the plant can shoot out more.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Thank you.
Great. Kind of like basil. Same thing with harvesting basil.
Basil.
Yeah. Basilic, basil. Basil or basil?
Basil. Okay. Nice.
And so, with that important information on enjoying your flowers all gardening season, I want to talk about a little bit specific about this season in the garden because it has been a hot one, as Santana might say. And so, I'm scrolling on Facebook, as one does, and I see a post being farmer's old trick. When it's raining, go out and water your garden because this will maximize your water yield and will reduce the evaporation that you have. And then, a couple posts down, I see another thing. I see another post that says the best time to water is in the evening. Once again, this is to avoid evaporation. So it seems like a lot of tricks about watering your garden have to do with minimizing or avoiding evaporation. And I gotta ask, guys, is evaporation that big of a deal? Why so much focus on trying to minimize evaporation in the garden?
So evaporation is a totally natural process that you have no real control over, but you can control when you water to ensure that the most of the water that you're putting on your plants is getting down where it needs to be so that it can be sucked up by the roots and used by the plant. So if you water in the middle of a very hot day and say it's also windy out there, then the evaporation is going to be quicker, right? Than it will be if it's in the evening when it's cooler outside and there's less sun, beating down hot on the earth. And also something that I've heard is it's actually quite good to water your plants as early in the morning as you can. The ideal time is like dawn, because if you can do it then, the plants will be able to use that water through the day as it starts to heat up and when they really need it. So that's what I've been aiming for in my garden, is to get up early and water when needed then. But I also try to skip days if I can, because I want to try to grow my garden in a resilient way and sort of force the roots to go a little deeper for water that's down in the soil, rather than being really sort of lush with that water. I'm also afraid that my well will run dry, so this is a motivation. And even though we have the barrels, sometimes we have to tap into the well. So there's that. And then the evaporation, it's just going to be faster when it's really hot and windy. So if we can avoid those times. So that idea of the farmer, that trick of watering while it's raining, I've never heard it before, but there might be some truth there. If a little bit of I'd say though, if it's really raining, then skip the watering because Mother Nature's doing it for you, right?
How about you, Hugo? When is the best time to water, in your opinion?
Well, I think Bethany's kind of said all of the basic things I was going to say. But in the evening, I mean, it's not my job. It's kind of my dad's job. So, yeah, when I'm not up in the morning, is just doing it. And yeah, but she also said, water the plants, but at the same time, not watering every day, just to so the roots gonna go deeper. It's the same as the fruit trees at home at the pépinière. We are just watering them like once a day, or so they're gonna be more resilient. So yeah, I think it's everything. But yeah, about the farmer and raining. Before a rainy day, I never heard of it, and I don't see kind of why would I do this. So yeah, I don't know.
Sometimes you just see shit on Facebook. And sometimes shit on Facebook is not actually accurate. So the watering in the evening or watering in the early morning, that seems legitimate. But it seems like the consensus that watering while it's raining is just some bullshit I saw on Facebook.
Probably.
Yeah, I mean, if it's like a light rain that is just getting the earth a little bit humid but not fully saturated, then sure, maybe why not go with that time for watering if you can, because it will just as you say, like lessen the evaporation, because as you saturate that soil, it's just going to be more sort of welcoming to more moisture. If that makes sense. Whereas when rain is first falling, or when the water from your hose is first falling on really dry ground, you might notice that it runs off. Right, it might not stay where you're aiming it, especially if you're growing on somewhat raised beds like I do. When I first start watering, and it's like super super hot and dry out there. There's almost like a crust on the top of the bed, and so it takes a minute for that to saturate to the point where we're then actually going to be really watering down into the earth.
So Facebook post number 1, watering during raining. The council has voted. This is Facebook nonsense. Facebook post number 2 said water in the evening. And once again, this was to lessen the evaporation. I come to the Council of Elders. Hugo, what are your thoughts about watering in the evening?
So, yeah, if you just water in the evening, you just can risk to add some fungus or mildew or other sickness for the plant to grow on it. So, yeah.
So what are we thinking, guys? Like, what is the best time to water for best plant health and to minimize evaporation?
The morning.
Amazing. So the council has spoken, and the council has voted that Facebook is 2 for 2 for giving me bullshit gardening advice. Listeners, why are you watering when it's raining? It's already raining. And listeners, you are risking fungus and mildew if you are watering in the evening, especially apparently if you're doing cucumbers and tomatoes. So the official advice that we are giving out on this podcast, you're going to have to get up in the morning, listeners. Set that alarm clock early.
Yeah, and not 11 o'clock in the morning. That's like midday. Like, get up early. Get up at dawn. Get up when the birds start singing and get out there in the garden.
All right, listeners. So set your alarm clocks to get on up there as soon as the sun is coming up. And now you may be asking, my dear listeners, what is the best way to water? Personally, I'm doing with a watering can, and I love to get the leaves and flowers wet. It is so beautiful to get those leaves and flowers wet, and I can't wait to hear how I'm doing everything wrong. So coming up on the next episode, listeners, stay on the edge of your seat, because next episode, we're going to be talking about drip irrigation versus the hose versus the watering can. Get your opinions in now as to what is the best way and all the ways that I'm doing things wrong. All right, listeners. So we're going to be moving on to our next segment, and we're going to be talking one of those key natural components of the garden. You got your soil, you got your compost. Of course, you have your plants, but let's talk about another part that we see in the garden, and that is the mulch. Bethany, I hear you got some mulch thoughts you want to share with the dear listeners.
Yeah, I think that mulch is a game changer in the garden. And I have to say that when I first started out gardening, I, for some reason, shunned it. I kind of thought, oh, it doesn't look as beautiful as seeing that sort of bare soil around the plants. But now it's the opposite for me, because I know all the benefits that mulch bring to the garden. And I've been using it more and more. And the goal is now to have it anywhere where I've got something planted, it should be mulched. So I'm using wood chip right now. I also use straw for certain things like strawberries. But the wood chip takes a little longer to break down. So it's got more staying power, whereas the straw is quicker to biodegrade. Mulch is really great for a couple of reasons. One, it helps to maintain the moisture in the soil. Think of it acting sort of like a porous blanket on the soil. So it's going to keep that warmth and also the moisture in. And another thing that it does is it amends the soil. So as the wood chips break down, or as the straw breaks down, it's bringing extra nutrients into the soil from above. And then another really wonderful and sort of immediate result of mulch is that it suppresses weeds. So I find myself doing a lot less weeding if I've mulched around my plants. So that alone is, maybe you think, do I really need to add this mulch? It's going to take a couple wheelbarrows full to go up into the garden and it'll take time. But in the end, I think it saves you a lot of time in weeding.
Hugo, do you incorporate a lot of mulch in your garden?
Actually, I will have to.
You will have to.
Yeah. Actually, I will have to. Maybe, not this summer. I didn't have the time. Mm-hmm. Sorry. Now the garden is full of weeds. I know. Now Bethany is doing the big finger.
I'm going to share a story that I think is funny, but at the end of it, you guys tell me if this is funny or not, because it does involve religion, which can be divisive, but I think this is a funny story.
Right. Let's hear it.
So speaking on the topic of weeds, I'd like to share with you a moment I had in church today. So just to give the listener some context, we are recording this on Sunday. I went to church this Sunday and the priest was sharing a parable, as one does during Mass. It was a parable involving wheat and weeds. And, the message of the parable, ultimately is, forgiveness and mercy and God's love. But there is one moment where the priest is explaining the parable and one person in the story is commenting on weeds that are growing among the wheat. And they say, where did these weeds come from? And with all the gravitas and the serious you get in a Catholic sermon, the priest said, an enemy has planted them. And now every time I see my garden and I see weeds, I just hear my Catholic priest going, an enemy has planted them.
Oh my gosh. I guess you know how much your enemy really hates you, depending on the type of weed that they planted. Like bindweed, they absolutely, they totally hate you, right? But lemon sorrel, that weed can be used for making salads more delicious, little lemony kick. So that enemy is like maybe a frenemy.
I'll let the theologists figure that out, what type of weed Jesus was talking about. And so thank you so much for sharing your thoughts on the importance of mulch, which, of course, if listeners have been out and about this season, will know that keeping the moisture in the ground is particularly important this gardening season. For listeners who are outside of the southwestern Quebec region, I'd like to explain a little bit of context in that joke. We've had plus 37 Celsius this year. It has been a bit of a heat wave. Hugo, please pardon my terrible French accent. It's been a canicule from what I understand. This is a very useful word because whenever I see any of my Francophone neighbors, you can just kind of gesture at the sun and be like, le canicule. And they'll be like, ouais, le canicule. This has been your French lesson from your Anglophone host, Justine. But it has been a hot one, guys. And so, of course, like Bethany was saying, the mulch is helping keep the moisture in the ground, which when you're hitting 37 degrees, that is incredibly important. What other tricks do you guys have for the heat? Like, how are we keeping the garden alive?
Oh, well, how do we keep the garden alive? Here's a trick. It's the drip tape, as before we were talking about it. Drip tape, there always some water, so it's kinda a good way to not forget to water the plants. Like, I don't know, when you're going somewhere to vacation. But yeah, I don't know.
I have a little bit of advice there, and it goes back to waking up early. I find if I can wake up early and do my work in the garden while it's still as fresh as possible outside, that's much, much better. If you're farming like Hugo, you really can't avoid the midday heat in the gardens because that's what you do. You're out there all day. But for those who are just gardening for their own home or pleasure, you kind of can can avoid those peak hours of intense heat that just, honestly, like there have been times I've been out in the garden in that heat and I feel nearly faint. So we want to avoid that. That's not good. So yeah, I've been adapting myself now to just waking up way earlier, and then I find I feel very productive when I do that too. It's a good feeling. So that's my suggestion.
Actually, I mean, as a segment of before, mulch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, mulch. The thing that I forgot in the garden this year, mulching is kind of a good way to keep the water kind of more longer. So yeah,
Hugo, it's not too late to add that mulch.
I know, but whatever. One day.
Yeah, if you're saying it's not too late, I might take your advice on that. So, as listeners know, I do have an Eastern garden and I have a Western garden. The Eastern garden is where I do have Audrey 3, my cucumber plant, who is mogging me. This is a little Rick Moranis joke for approximately 5 people who are listening. And yeah, the Eastern garden, I'm having bigger plants. I'm having more full plants. The leaves seem much more green, much more lush. And then the Western garden, everyone is still alive, but it does seem like they're having a little bit of a hard time. And so, yeah, you're saying that, especially in a Western garden where you're getting that full sun, that 37-degree heat, that mulch might be a game changer, just to not only keep the moisture in, but keep the how would you say, like, keep the heat out? I don't know. Does that keep the moisture in, which helps
keep
it?
the moisture in.
So you're saying that the mulch might be a game changer in the Western garden, because when I have the mulch, that's keeping the moisture in, which is keeping everyone a lot happier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and as you said, like a little bit cooler too, because the moisture is being kept in. And that helps cool things down a bit.
I might help myself a little bit to your pile out in the front today.
And just a little note on sourcing mulch, I'd suggest getting in touch with a local arborist whose job it is to sometimes cut down trees and mulch them, because oftentimes they'll be more than willing to drop off extra mulch at your place for a nominal fee or even for free, because often they just need to sort of get rid of it.
So thank you so much for those tips on how to keep my Western garden alive, because we are getting blasted with that direct hot chemical heat. The plants that seem to be suffering a little bit are the tomatoes. And so, as listeners know, this is my first season with tomatoes. It's hard for me to know what is working and what is not, because like we've said, we're pretty early on in the gardening season. So it could be that I'm just getting a low yield at this time because it's early in the gardening season. However, as most millennials, I have fallen into a rabbit hole on the internet. On Reddit, there is a community called Our Tomatoes, which is a very fun group. There are still corners on the internet that are very fun to explore. Our Tomatoes is great, but there is a very strong divide between the community between pruning. So I'm going to explain as neutrally as possible both sides of the debate. One side of the debate says you should prune pretty aggressively because you're going to want to make the plant focus on producing the most beautiful and quote unquote perfect fruit. And you can do this by making the plant focus on the most productive fruits. The other side of the debate says, look, pruning is not for everyone at every level of gardener. You can over prune and then you're going to wind up with more problems than not. The risk of pruning is that you're going to have less of a yield. And that is specifically a problem for amateurs because you don't necessarily know what is a good prune, what is a good sucker. And, as a beginner, I see both sides. I do want to make sure that I'm making sure that I'm growing beautiful tomatoes that I can be happy with. But at the same time, as a beginner, I'm pretty nervous about over pruning. And, should I really be focused over perfection over yield? I don't know, guys. I bring this issue to the council. What are your thoughts about pruning tomatoes to not prune tomatoes?
Well, it's actually a tough choice because on my side, I have the kind of opposite. On the farm where I'm working, it's more like professional, like in the greenhouse, even in the tunnel. They're kind of, I mean, let's begin in the greenhouse. They're pruning, cutting the suckers. The word in French is effeuillage, so taking all the leaves and just leaving the stems and leaving also like a part of the leaves. I don't remember the number of leaves you have to leave. Leave, yeah. So yeah.
So you're in the greenhouse.
Yeah.
So, and this is what I mean, because I'm coming in from the amateur and you're coming in as a professional, not only by skill, but also by trade,
Yeah.
So in the greenhouse, you're saying that you're pruning.
Yeah.
And so what is the result that you're seeing in the greenhouse when you prune? What's the benefit of pruning?
I mean, to have more airflow between the plants, having more hair to prevent, again, sickness or, sickness actually. And to just the plants need to breathe. So, yeah. And so all the energy gonna focus on the fruits and not like the leaves. So we're gonna have bigger fruits, bigger tomatoes. And I did notice that they are more sweeter.
So hold on.
Yeah.
There's a quality difference too.
I mean, I did notice it.
Wow. Okay, so it's not only bigger, but it's also juicier, sweeter. That's interesting.
Yeah, especially on the cherry tomatoes.
Okay.
I mean, it's maybe the varieties. I don't know, but I noticed something. And on the other side, at home, this summer, my dad decided not to prune the tomatoes. And right now it's a bit of mess and a jungle. So, yeah. I mean, it's his decision, and I kind of don't mind. I was going to say it's like a laboratoire, to see like two different things. I find it, since he doesn't trim, it's still going to produce some fruits. By example, most of the plants are determinate. So in, I don't know, a couple of days, they're going to all produce the fruits at the same time-ish. And they're going to be mature at the same time. And we're going to harvest like basically in one shot, or basically in a couple of weeks. So yeah.
Amazing. So Hugo, thank you very much for that perspective. So on the professional side, when you're producing a product that is going on the market, 100% pruning. But at home, some seasons you're going to prune, other seasons you don't. Like you said, it's a little bit of a laboratoire. You want to see, what works for you in your garden and what works for what you're trying to grow. That's very interesting. Bethany, what are your thoughts on the pruning debate when it comes to tomatoes?
For me this year, after having pruned too much last year, I am just kind of taking a middle road approach where I definitely get rid of any leaves, branches that seem affected by disease, by blight, any little spots on those leaves. I'm going to get rid of them, just in an attempt to keep that at bay, keep it from spreading. And by the way, when you take those blighted leaves or those spotted leaves off, make sure that you don't put them in your compost. You want to keep them separate. I put them in my fire pit, and just when I do a burn, they burn up. If you don't have a fire pit, you could put them in your garbage. Or, probably hot composting at a municipality would be fine too. But yeah, so that's something to consider. And then, so I get rid of those, and then I guess I look at the plant and I see, is it too much of a jungle for me to easily be able to find my tomatoes when it's time to harvest them? And if that's the case, then perhaps I'll find a sucker that I can take away, prune that, just to add a little bit of air and space around the tomatoes. And so that's my suggestion. Well, that's the way I'm doing it this year for myself. I also find pruning a little bit stressful. Like, oh, what if I take the wrong thing? I'm clear on how to prune, but I do find life easier without pruning. So maybe just pure laziness is causing me not to focus my energies there this year.
How about you, Hugo? What are your thoughts?
I mean, there's another example on the farm. Les jardins de la Résistance, a bit of a pub. Now, what we're doing in the tunnel, it's like smaller greenhouses and just for a season. And yeah, after we're taking them off and whatever. In the tunnel, the tomato that we are growing is the Roma one. And what we're doing is just taking off all the suckers, and after that the leaves, and after like, I don't know, a couple of branches, we are just leaving them and they're just growing. So just do like a one pass. Yeah, like
just one and done.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
I think
so don't overthink it. Just once, and then let it be. It's gonna grow.
Did we talk about what is suckers and what is not? Or
let's go over it, because I'm not clear on the distinction, and I'm not sure if our listeners are. What is a sucker?
I mean, for me, it's easy.
So, I'm glad it's easy for you. I grew up in cities. The vegetation I'm most familiar with is dandelions. So, start from level 1. What are we talking about when we're talking about suckers?
Nice. Oh, they produce some pink dandelion.
Oh, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, whatever.
That's beautiful.
That's another
That's cool.
Story. Yeah. So a sucker is. You remember, guys, when we talked about the fruit trees like a couple of months ago? It's kind of the same thing with the tomato plant, yeah. It's just gonna try to reach light, but like really kind of straight. And it's only like, how could I say this? The head of the suckers, but no leaves. So just a big branch, like pretty much straight. And yeah, there's the intersection of the plant, the branch, and the main stem. So it's just kind of going like a big shoot and just, cut it. I don't know.
Just cut it.
It'll have to show.
You know what? Maybe one day we'll do a visual component for the podcast.
Nice.
And Hugo can be the star of that one in your little shorts.
I will mind, yeah.
All right, perfect. So we'll leave you on those thoughts about pruning, listeners. Like we've said on this podcast, it's really going to depend on your garden. It's really going to depend on your type of tomatoes. And at the end of the day, it's going to depend on your goals for what you want at the end of the gardening season. Truly, every day is a new step in your journey. But at the end of the gardening season, there does come the time of harvesting. I know it's a long way off, but my cucumber plant is already producing about 4 cucumbers a day. It's the little ones, the Kirby ones. And so, one thing that I am so excited for this year in gardening is for me to make my traditional Polish pickles. So for listeners who are curious about what I mean about Polish pickles, is that in many parts of Eastern Europe, there's a different type of pickle that is fermented rather than pickled in vinegar. This is a very old preservation process combining salt, water, and thyme, and it does produce a very, very delicious sour pickle. You may know it as kosher pickles. If you do go to a lot of Jewish delis, this is the same type of pickle. If you're ever in grocery stores, you will not find it in the room temperature aisle. You will find it in the refrigerator because this product is alive. Very similar to kimchi or kombucha or other fermented products. This is a product that has so much pride and joy in the history and the traditions, and it's such a distinctive sour flavor. And whenever I eat this pickle, it just hits me with the sourness and the tanginess, and that's what I think of a pickle. I married a Quebecer. I married a Quebecer from this region of Quebec. And I said, honey, what kind of pickles do you want to make this year? And he looks me in the eye and he says, I want to make sweet bread and butter pickles. And and I looked him in the eye, and in the back of my mind, I thought of our wedding day, where we said, for better or for worse, through sickness and in health, through sweet pickle season, dumping, just 2 kilograms of sugar into a pickle brine. And I said, okay, honey, I'll do anything for love. So, Hugo, I hear that you like sweet pickles.
Yeah, but apparently those two don't like them. So whatever. No, but honestly, I don't know. It's the same as your husband. We just grew up with these kind of recipes. So I don't know. The other day I made a batch, and yeah.
So walk me through the batch. Walk me through the batch, because I want to make the type of pickle that my husband is familiar with. My husband grew up in Valleyfield, very close to here. When you guys talk about sweet pickles, walk me through the recipe, walk me through the steps, because I want to do it right for him.
Well, I'm doing the recipe. I mean, it's basically vinegar, sugar, and a bit of water, and my spice mix. So I don't know, just preparing a night before all the cucumbers in a big bowl, and just put it, in the sink actually. Just fill it with cold water so they're gonna be more crisp. And the day after, just cut them, and do the preparation. And I'm doing the batch. I shouldn't maybe add more details, but I don't know.
Do you have a recipe that you follow? Or is it kind of you just go with what your heart says?
Going with the flow.
Okay.
But I remember one time I kind of forgot the recipe, and I just went on the internet, and I typed bread and butter pickles, and there were the Ricardo one.
Oh, well, if it's Ricardo, it's going to be a good recipe.
Yeah. It's basically a basic batch recipe. So, yeah. And yeah, I don't know.
Listeners, we will link to the Ricardo recipe, because Ricardo is pretty much guaranteed to have a very reliable recipe for those who are interested in the bread and butter pickles. For those who are interested in a fermented pickle, I call them Polish pickles. You may call them kosher pickles, or even fermented pickles. I'll put the recipe that I use on the podcast show notes. It comes with a little video as well, if anybody is curious and wants to have more of a visual aid. And so you're excited for bread and butter pickles. I'm excited for my fermented pickles. Bethany, what are you excited about?
Ooh, I'm excited I'm in the midst of sort of an in-between season where there's not a lot in the garden that's actually quite ready to be eaten, but I do have some things like volunteer amaranth that came back from last year, and now it's everywhere in my garden. So I've been eating that like sauteed, sort of like you might make dandelion greens. So what I do is saute a bit of garlic in olive oil, and then add the leaves of amaranth, and sort of like you do spinach, you want to wilt it down, and then add lemon juice, some breadcrumbs, and some Parmesan cheese, and maybe a little chili flakes. So that's been super good, and it's pink, so my daughter thinks it's cute, and she really likes eating it. Not that she's a picky eater at all, but she particularly likes the color of that. And so that's a fun one. I've also been eating a lot of lemon sorrel, which is a weed, a quote unquote weed, but a weed that I've fully embraced because it is so delicious. And if you don't know what it is, I will show you and give you some. It looks kind of like clover, but it has this incredible lemon punch to it. Super tasty.
Amazing. And so just like with Hugo, do you work with a recipe, or you're going with how much garlic the spirit moves you to add?
It's all about the spirit moving you for me in the kitchen. But when I do pickling, which I think I will soon, I'm going to buy some cucumbers from somebody who already has some ready. Maybe you, Hugo, I go to your farm. That would be a great idea. And make some pickles this week because I have a dear friend who's coming this week to visit, and her nickname is Pickle. So we have to make pickles.
Well, of course. Of course.
And I'd say in that case, I use a recipe because I'm not yet a super confident pickler. So I will be maybe looking at some Ricardo non-sugary pickle recipes.
She won't like the sugar one, right?
Yeah. Where I grew up in like near Lindsay, Ontario, in the Kawartha Lakes region of Ontario, the bread and butter pickles were really popular as well.
Right. Okay.
So they were always on the table at Thanksgiving dinner and all of that. So I grew up with them, but I always preferred salty, like dill pickles, garlicky
Avoid
things.
that.
You avoid I always avoided them. Yeah. That and the date squares. Everybody loved the date squares that were everywhere, but I just cannot deal with a date square.
We can't be friends anymore. Sorry, Bethany.
Bye, Hugo.
And that is the end of the Blooming Valley Garden podcast. You've been with us from the beginning, listeners, and now you've witnessed the end.
Psych.
And just on the topic of pickles and cultural differences in terms of what people prefer to pickles, I'd like to share a little bit of a personal story. This one involving my dad when he first came to Canada. So for listeners who know me, my dad is Polish from Poland. He came in the late 80s to Canada. And, loves Canada, has very, very much embraced the Canadian way of life. But, just like with every immigrant, there is a process of transition and a little process of culture shock when you realize some things are different from what you expect. So my dad is in the grocery store picking up the normal stuff. He's picking up some milk, he's picking up some bread, some cheese, and then he's like, great, I'm going to stock up on pickles. Now, pickle in Poland is a verb. It is something that you do to foods. So, for example, you could pickle mushrooms, you could pickle carrots, you can pickle eggplants, you can pickle eggs. It's a genre of food more than what we think of here in North America. So I want you to picture a young Polish man in the 80s walking into a Canadian grocery store in Calgary, Alberta, and he sees an aisle that he translates pickles. And he's like, wonderful. Let me get my variety of food that has been pickled. He turns in the aisle, and as far as the eye can see, it's just 1 million types of pickled cucumbers in vinegar, which it was just like, this moment always strikes me as like a very funny moment of culture shock where you are expecting something in the culture you grew up being like, I'm just going to get a bunch of pickled radishes. I'm going to get pickled turnips. And it's just here in North America, when we say pickles, we don't even say it's pickled cucumber. We just say pickle. And we know between us, it's a pickled cucumber. But my dad was just in a state of shock, being like, what is this? Anyways, this is just a funny little story about cross-cultural differences. And it's a story that I'm very fond of.
Oh, I love it. He must have thought that they played a big prank on him or something.
It's just, capitalism is 5,000 types of different pickled cucumbers in varying flavors of vinegar brine. All right. We got anything else for recipes we're looking forward to in life?
Actually, I'm also gonna do a batch of spicy beans.
Oh, amazing.
So those eyes, they're gonna like it, I think. So,
Yeah. It's are you using our friend Jess's recipe?
Actually, no. I'm just gonna do the basic batch. Like, I mean, when I'm saying basic, it's the vinegar and that's it actually. Vinegar, spices, and yeah. But I can't wait to taste them.
So good.
To try them, yeah.
I'll invite you over if you bring some over. Taste them up. All right, listeners, thank you so much for hanging in there in another wonderful episode of the Blooming Valley Garden Club podcast. As ever, we will link to you in the show notes all recipes and notes that are useful for you. If you are in the geographic area, listeners, we will be linking to you the website, as we do have some fun events coming up in the near future. And as always, listeners, please enjoy the rest of the gardening season. While it is a hot one, it's still a fun one. My name is Justine.
And my name is Bethany.
And I'm Hugo.
And this has been the Blooming Valley Garden Club podcast. Have a great rest of your night.
Bye-bye. Hoot, hoot.